Yep. Yep. It's it's how I can contribute to the science. Why are you saying these things? This is tempting fate. Snow's easy. Says the guy who slipped on ice last winter and broke his shoulder. Yeah, could be. It wouldn't be CosmoQuest without audio issues.
There was a button I forgot to press so Keeper could hear me
Yep.
and respond to me,
Yep.
and none of you could hear me.
Nope.
Annie brought me what is my third cup of coffee of the day, and I was
Oh
thinking at the
dear.
time, oh, that's a mistake. But the reality was she made the right call. Annie made the right call because it is clear I needed that one more coffee. Annie, Allie, and Ms. Brickhitten are all directly above me with three Australian Shepherds. So there may be some shenanigans up there. So what I was saying is we have some certain key volunteers in our community that I don't publicly thank often enough. And Keeper of Maps, who's here with me right now, is one of them. He's been with me when servers were failing and I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. He's been there when we accidentally filled the server completely and couldn't figure out how to get it to turn back on because it was on Amazon Web Services and he knew how to backdoor get to it. Don't fill your hard drives, people. Don't do it.
No, don't.
And like there's always this fear what happens if Edwardsville loses connectivity. And we've had tornadoes during more than one streaming event.
And you're tempting fate.
Today I'm
Yeah.
confident no tornadoes are in our future. And
As we
and
all go and check.
it's true. It's true. But thank you for being one of the people that we actually trust with access to our password repository, like a staff member, just in case something happens to us here in Edwardsville. You're one of our backup humans.
Offsite is important, you know?
It's true. It's true. What is your backup strategy? We have a volunteer. What do you mean you have a volunteer? Well, he works for StatCan. Oh, it's okay then. That actually is a conversation I can't tell you how many times I've had.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amusing. That's amusing.
So,
But it does, it does speak a lot about my employer.
yeah.
But that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, we're here to
Well, not
talk
them.
about what it is that makes someone a scientist and how we change the people's view of a scientist. And one of the weird things that I see happening on Twitch is we will have people that come into our streams and are like, "What's your degree?" to me.
Yep.
It's like, I have a PhD in astrophysics. I actually have a PhD in astronomy, but if you piss me off, it's a PhD in astrophysics. My undergraduate degree is in astrophysics. Close enough.
Yep.
And I've never seen like EJ get asked that, or any of the NFS people get asked that, or any of the guys streaming science. And so clearly, I am not what a scientist looks like. I deal with a lot of the folks out in the audience, and I'm like, you're doing science. You're helping us explore other worlds, and people don't realize I am scientist shaped. You are scientist shaped. All of you out there listening to
Yep.
me right now are scientist shape. Why
You
not?
just don't know it.
Yeah, why not scientist if scientist shaped? Um, yeah. And so you've gone out and done public astronomy nights. You've dealt with the media working to explain various Canada things. I'm just going to put it that way. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, so I'm going to say Canada things.
So in general terms, I manage a survey that looks at environmental practices of households. And I've been doing that for a very long time. As part of my day job,
Yeah.
that's what I do. And dealing with the media is part of that, and explaining what we've collected, what we've noticed, in a way that's accessible is what I do in my day job. And that's that is basically what you're doing when you're doing your citizen science outreach and your science outreach, is making the science accessible and explaining it in a way that, you don't need a degree to understand. And that's a really tricky part. And yeah, I do sidewalk astronomy, and I'm part of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, the Ottawa Centre, and there are all sorts of amateur astronomers in that group who are doing hardcore astronomy. We've got people who are taking observations, technical observations of variable stars, for example.
Yeah.
There's a guy in our center who is incredibly knowledgeable about filters. You were talking about filters a couple of segments ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, and you said, an O3, or you wanted an O2 filter or an O3 filter. I don't remember what O3. And it's like, I know the guy who can tell you exactly what to buy and what not to buy, and that will work from your Bortle 7 or 8 backyard. He's doing amazing stuff from a Bortle 9 backyard, like from the
Okay, so you
from
need to explain
Ottawa.
the Bortle scale for all the folks out there who
So
aren't familiar with it.
The Bortle scale talks about how bright your sky is.
Yeah.
This picture, I believe, was taken it was either taken in Joshua Tree, or was taken at an observing site up the Ottawa Valley from me. If it's Joshua Tree, then that's the darkest skies I think I've ever seen, maybe other than up
Really?
in the Yukon. Well, Joshua Tree was very, very dark.
Okay.
Not when we went to Goat Mountain, but the other place,
Okay.
the first night when we didn't have clouds.
When I wasn't there, because
You were you
No,
didn't
I
go
got there.
to the desert
That
with
was
us?
the night my plane landed late, so I didn't make it out to the star party with y'all.
Oh, I thought you came. I thought you were there.
No,
Ooh,
I was there the night that you were the place where
Goat
Dustin had his
Mountain.
telescope. Yeah.
Yes.
And everyone went and found scorpions and wanted to show me, and I wanted to have nothing to do with that.
Yep. Yep. That's right. So yeah, Joshua Tree is some of the darkest skies. I went up to the Yukon in northern Canada, and that's very dark sky. Well, except for all the aurora, but you can't complain about that. But anyways, you can do amazing science with absolutely horrid skies as long as you have some filters. If you
Yeah.
are trying to do really technical astronomy, if you're trying to show off the stars to people, you can do it from a parking lot in a big box mall with a street light that's just out of frame. And we did that. We did that near the ice cream place when we were in Edwardsville for
It's
AC
true.
500.
Yeah, Annie's custard stand.
That's it.
And and this is the thing that we have to remember is the sky is so big. It has such a diversity of objects that there is science aplenty to be shared by
Yep.
everyone, no matter how good or bad their skies may be. And if you want to see aurora, if you live where I live, you drive an hour and a half, or more to the point, you let Annie drive an hour and a half because she has better
Yes.
night vision. And you go to the side of a road beside a cornfield where there's so many stars that Cassiopeia is confusing to find.
Yes.
And if you just want to look at Mars at opposition, you step into the parking lot of McDonald's and you're good. You're good. And in either case, if you want to call yourself a scientist while doing it, all you have to do is record what you're seeing and report it out. That's what makes someone a scientist, is they record what they see and share the information.
I mean, one of the easiest things, if you're out and about and you see a meteor or a fireball, you can report it on the American Meteor Society's website, and they have a reporting page, and you can see who else has seen it. And they will do a map with little people on it who are facing in the direction that they were looking and where they saw it. And all you have to record are about half a dozen data points. And it's such an easy way, and they have used that information to go and find meteorites.
Yeah. And it's wild, the kinds of cameras that have ended up being useful for science. Yep. Security cameras, dashboard cameras, all of these different things have been used to figure out the trajectories of meteorites as they pass through our atmosphere. And there was a case a few years ago that absolutely freaking blew my mind, because a meteorite landed in Botswana in the middle of a nature preserve, and they found that sucker.
Yep.
I mind blown. Like, they vaguely knew where it was, and they were able to figure it out and find it and bring it to a laboratory.
I was in university. I took a full year astronomy course many, many years ago, back in the days of film.
Oh.
And I was heading south of the city, south of where I live, to go and set up a camera. And I was going to have someone else farther south set up another camera, and we would have overlapping sections of the sky in our fields of view. On our way there, we saw an amazing fireball. And it's like, well, that sucks. And it sucks further because there was somebody who was on the 401, which is major east-west highway, south of me and south of where I was, who saw it to their north.
Oh, geez. So
it was between me and them. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Had I been able to, do that as my undergrad astronomy class, I might be in a different place, but that's okay. I'm in a good place. Because I still see my astronomy prof, because he got me involved with the RASC.
And we actually solved a problem together a couple of years ago. Do you remember that really weird thing you had in front of the sun?
Oh, yes. So I had a relatively new telescope at the time. It was on my balcony. I had a solar filter. I was just playing with it, and I happened to capture a couple of image frames going across in front of the camera. And I think that was one of the very first times I met you.
Yeah.
And it was in an office hours session, I think. And I showed you this image, and I said, this is weird.
Yeah.
And what we figured out is that it was a weather balloon.
Yeah.
And I happened to be, with all the geometry, everything just lined up, and I have a weather balloon with 2 or 3 frames going across the face of the sun. And yeah, we were able to figure out where it had to be. So it had to be basically over a place called Tupper Lake, which is in northern New York State. And it had to be, 60,000 feet or something like that.
We mathed it. That was the cool
thing. We mathed
thing.
it. It was, yeah. And we made a very, very skinny triangle, basically. And we did the math, and yeah.
And we knew how big the sun was. We knew the sun's altitude above the edge of the horizon. And this allowed us to figure out, if it's at this distance, it's moving at this velocity. If it's at this distance, it's moving at this velocity. And we knew it wasn't orbital.
No.
And
you could actually see the balloon deforming as the payload swung underneath it.
It was just one of those moments of, we figured it out. We made a science.
We made a science, and that was the first thing I had shown at the Royal Astronomical Society. And I remember I said, "So I've got an observation, but it's a little weird." And they said, "Oh, we like weird." It's like, okay, good. So, yeah.
Now, one moment that I had at a local museum really changed my perspective on a lot of things. Um, Growing up in the United States as a geeky girl, I, especially one with the last name Gay in the 80s, I took a lot of teasing and ridicule because, like, as my physics teacher in high school told me, girls don't do science. He gave me a
Right.
C because he wanted to make sure that I didn't have too hard a life, and he knew the C would keep me out of the graduate school, not the graduate, the undergraduate programs I wanted to be in. He thought he was doing me a favor.
Nice guy.
Yeah. And it was just one of those things where when I started university, I started in the James Madison School of International Relations because I thought, I can't be a scientist. I'll get the undergraduate degree in astronomy, but I'm going to specialize as a second degree. I had so many AP credits, I could get a dual degree. I'm going to specialize in international relations, and I want to go into international science policy. I want to be the person negotiating what today would be the Artemis Accords and stuff like that. And it turns out I really hate economics. Like, I hate economics to the degree that I switched degrees from international relations to straight up astrophysics. Hate economics. Because I learned that I am scientist shaped. I just didn't know it yet. And this can be tricky. And you also had the am I scientist shaped dilemma hitting you when you were a youngling. How do we change this? How do we get people to see they are both friend shaped and scientist shaped?
Well, I mean, so when I did my degree, which I have a BA with honors in geography, specializing in GIS and remote sensing. Because at the time they did not have a BSc program at my university in geography.
Hmm.
Now there are BSc programs in geography, but I did physical geography, so that's looking at all the physical characteristics of the world, but it gets you thinking about things the relationships between where things are and why they're there.
Hmm.
And as you start to do other things and you start to interact with other domains, you realize in the Venn diagram of life or of sciences and domains, there's a circle in the middle that has the word geography in it, and then all the other things around the edge.
Yeah.
There's a geography of, I don't know, religion. There's a geography of anything you can think of. There's human
Minecraft.
geography. I did the physical geography, so I liked geology, and the physical landforms and things like that. And in university, there was human geography, which is sort of the touchy-feely, the people.
Yeah.
And after graduation, I got a job as a satellite mission planner and became the operations administrator for a part of the government of Canada for civilian satellites. And I programmed satellites for a few years, and that
Which
was
is
kind of
cool.
fun and neat. It is kind of cool. And then I got into my current employer, which is the National Statistical Agency for Canada. And every country has a national statistical body that looks after official statistics. And I was in the geography division. I was doing geography stuff with computer stuff attached to it. And then I had an operational job and then ended up working on a survey, the one that I'm on now. And I realized at some point, oh, hang on. I'm a physical geographer dealing with the touchy-feely things, the people.
It's true. It's true.
That's highly oversimplified, but in that area, that's what I do. And am I a social scientist? I don't know. Maybe it's a term that I've often pondered. but my degree program was in the Faculty of Social Sciences. So, yes, I'm not sure I would have put geography into social sciences, but it is what it is. But lots of people can be a scientist. Um, it's about observing and recording and hypothesizing and explaining, using your data to help explain what you're observing, if it will. And it's about sharing your data
Yeah.
and contributing to the greater good and the greater knowledge.
Yeah.
And that I don't have to have a degree that says BSc on it or MSc or PhD. Now, maybe if when I retire and whenever that is, I could see going back and maybe doing either an MA or a PhD. And I've been told some things I've done. It's like you could probably just skip the MA, just go straight to
It's
the
true.
PhD.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because, but I don't need the degree. The degree would be sort of this almost the byproduct of going off and doing a little bit more research in what I've been working on for the better part of 20 years.
And one of the things I wish I could get people to understand is how they're using science in so many different fields. I rode horses for a number of years. I worked at the stables where I kept a horse, and that allowed me to afford my hobby. And there was one day I was riding and I was having a really bad day. The horse was like, I don't know what's wrong with you. And I thought the horse was going to like bolt into the next county. And my trainer, who was frustrated with me, was just like, it's not rocket science. And I yelled back, no, that's easier.
Yeah.
It was that kind of a day.
Yep.
And he and we had lots of conversations. He did not understand who I was, like what I was doing. And it was mostly a choice. It was kind of a running gag between the two of us. And there's one day I walk into the stall aisle and I was like, what is going on? Because he has spread an inch thick layer of wood shavings all the way down the stall aisle. It is what feels like miles and acres of wood shavings, 1 inch thick on the cement that's supposed to be kept clean. And I'm like, I don't want to sweep that. What is going on, Phil? And he's like, it got rained on. It needs to get dried out. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, it dries faster if you spread it out like this. I'm like, yes, that's science. And then he
Yep.
argued with me that it was not science. It's just like, Phil, you're doing science. This thing that you don't like, you are doing it right now. This
Yep.
is science.
You're applying science.
Yeah. How do so the thing I started to say and then I sidetracked myself is I had this eye-opening experience at the Science Museum a few years ago. I was there with one of my grad students. He was a MBA student who I hired as a project manager because I can do budgets. I will hate every moment of it. And if I can hire a graduate student who will get business experience, I will do that. And
Yep.
I did that, and I have no regrets. He was absolutely amazing. This is James, for any of you who remember James. And James went to the museum with us when we were doing an outreach night at the St. Louis Science Center. And he was from Nigeria, and parts of U.S. culture still surprised him. And this little black girl from St. Louis came up to the table and was looking at things and was talking to us about things. And she was like, "You're cool." And I was just confused because this little girl thought me, adult me, scientist me, the nerdiest nerd of Big Bang Theory nerd. I'm not Sheldon. One of the other people on the sofa thought I was cool. And like I lit up and she wandered off. I inflicted NASA swag on her.
Yep.
And James noticed. And I was like, yeah, I got teased for being a scientist growing up. Like, it's not cool to be a scientist. And he had this moment of confusion because where he grew up, being excellent at academics, being excellent at science was a way to a different life. It was transformative, it was something to be aspired to. And I want to get to that place where there's more little girls who are cool in ways I will never be cool, who look at a scientist like me and say, "You're cool." I want to live in that world.
So
How do we get there?
um, I think we do it what Lego is doing.
Tell me more.
Well, Lego has science kits, and they did originally, I think, many years ago, they produced sets that were more for little boys and sets for more for little
Yeah.
girls, but they
No,
are,
they actually did everything gender free, and it was
did they?
about 8 years ago that they started doing. They had the Friends sets for girls. They
Oh,
had
okay.
Batman set for boys.
Okay.
Originally, it was both genders on all the boxes. It was one of the amazing
But
things about
and
Legos.
but they're still doing that, and they're
Yeah,
pushing the they're the
Technics.
technics. They've
Yeah,
got all of those sets, and they're aimed at people
yeah.
of all ages, but little people, big people, without any, just go and have fun, play with this, build something neat, you know.
I saw a wonderful tweet once upon a time, long, long ago, that I have lived by ever since. It was a picture of a little kid in a stroller doing the little kid arms and legs in all directions thing that little kids do.
Yep.
And it was wearing a dinosaur onesie. And the text was stranger, do you have a little girl or a little boy? Parent, can't you see I have a dinosaur?
Okay.
And and so I now buy all of my friends who have children dinosaur onesies.
Excellent. I
And
approve.
then I crochet them octopi. This is yeah. And this idea that we shouldn't be limited by our physical hardware. It's the wetware and the software we install on top of it that determines through our learning, our
Yeah.
education, and our passion what we're capable of.
But even then, you might not have the education. You might not have done the formal education in a
There's a
science
difference
field,
between
right?
formal education and education only
Yeah.
insofar as you pay for the formal education one way or
Yes.
another. There are the analogy I've been using all weekend. There's amateur astronomers who are the Olympians of the field because
Yep.
they're doing killer work.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not paid a ridiculously insane wage. And I don't mean that by we're getting rich doing this.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, at the RASC Ottawa Christmas dinner, we had a guest speaker from the Kingston Center, one of the other chapters of the organization.
Hmm.
He and another guy have they call it the Atacama Backyard Observatory. They have their own scope at Atacama.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so they make, they're doing their own thing. You can do, I don't know everything they're doing there, but I mean you can do serious science when you have those conditions. So, uh, but one of the guys was a banker in a
Hmm.
previous life,
Yeah.
and this is what he's doing in his retirement. Is he's got a remote telescope in Atacama at a place that is sort of like GMARS, but in Atacama.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
super, super cool. So the next session, which starts in about 17 minutes, I typed this into chat and no one really responded. So I'm going to say it out loud.
Yes.
So the next session is supposed to be that takes math live, answering science questions that require equations. And I haven't been able to convince anyone to like submit a question. Ms. Brickhitten, don't. If you're out there, don't. I've already answered one of yours. Um, and so I have a chalkboard. Um, let me use it, people.
Yeah, we have to see the chalkboard.
Okay, hold on. Let me figure out how to switch views semi-gracefully here. I have lost the computer mouse. There's the computer mouse. That camera.
But, when you say you're going, this takes math, I mean, the math isn't always as hard as you think.
Mm-mm.
It just takes knowing how to take the big problem and breaking it down into little pieces. And some people are wired that way, and some people are not, and that's okay.
I can't do statistics to save my life. You can. Thank God.
I to an extent, yeah. I mean, I do work, I'm an analyst and I work for a statistical agency. But if I think of the real hardcore statisticians, these are the guys with the degrees in math,
Yeah.
right? And at our organization, I think we've got some people, they may have just retired, but we've got people who have things named after them.
That's
Yeah. But if I need to know something that's harder, I go and ask them. And it's like, there's not sort of, it used to be a long time ago that scientists were up on the little pedestal and you had to go, much like the comp sci people, you had to go and approach them and on bent knee and ask for a boon. And my experience is, no, you ask
chalkboard.
chalkboard. Oh, there is a chalkboard over there. Yes. But the experience I've had, especially in the CosmoQuest community and the people I've met through CosmoQuest,
Yeah.
is they want to hear, most of them want to hear from people who are genuinely interested in learning. Please don't approach with your unique unified field theory equation. That's go and get published and then they'll be happy to talk. But if you're trying to solve, well, I saw this blob go in front of the sun.
And
I have a pretty good idea. I have a pretty good idea what it is, but I'm not quite sure of how to figure out where it is. So, but just you ask. And scientists are about asking questions, and scientists who aren't about asking questions, they're probably not very good scientists anymore.
And on the diagonal points out in the chat, some universities have statistics as departments separate from math. That's what I've seen a lot of, because it's often very different. Both computers and statistics used to be lumped under math, and the original meaning of the word computer was computing. So
it was like, it was actually the person who was doing calculations, and they often were women.
Yeah, it's true. So we often talk about the Harvard College computers, which were a group of women early in the 1900s that were working on a lot of major problems in stellar astrophysics. And one of the things, I completely baffled one of my professors in graduate school because I had him the first time as a professor for a course on relativity, which I was really, really good at, much to the grief of everyone else in the class, because my worst grade I think was a 97, and I was often
so you just saw it. You're wired that way.
I just saw it. And then there was one other person in the class who's now like a tenured professor at the University of Arizona. He was an undergrad at the time, phenomenal, Patrick Young. He was right beside me, killing the class, and everyone else was just like, oh. And then I took statistics with almost the exact same group of humans a year later.
Yep.
And my brain was like, what do you mean it has a probability distribution that is either Lorentzian or Gaussian, and you have to just know?
Yep.
And that same professor would just like hand me back my homework and have me redo it. And yeah, it wasn't pretty. And so brains just sometimes get different things. It's we are wired in different ways. And
Yep.
this is where I'm someone that I'm very good at programming computers. I'm not necessarily very good at doing computational modeling by hand, which some theorists can do. We each have different ways we're wired that allow us to think in different ways, and it's
Yep.
together that we can accomplish things.
Exactly. And it's figuring out how to work together.
Yeah.
And that's where citizen science opportunities like what CosmoQuest does.
Yeah.
The Bennu Mappers, perfect example. All the people there, they don't necessarily realize, but they were getting very good at pattern recognition.
Yeah. And
And
human beings are so much better than computers at pattern
yep,
recognition.
yep. But I mean, I was involved. There was somebody who was running a project. They were trying to measure, it was something about measuring the moon. And he wanted photos of the moon at roughly the same time, taken from all over the place, and he was going to do some math. During the
Vibration or something,
eclipse, there were
probably.
a lot of amateur scientist type projects to make very fine measurements about the eclipse and about first
The modern
contact, last
Eddington
contact.
experiment.
Yeah, yeah. There are other people in my center who were heavily involved in that. So you can do science. You just need to ask what can I do and how can I do it?
And remember, all of us are scientist shaped.
Yep,
Why scientist shaped if not scientist?
exactly.
All right. I'm gonna end this early so I can flip things around to the chalkboard.
Yep.
Um, I need a question, people. I need a question. Otherwise, I'm just gonna stand at the chalkboard and talk to you, which is interesting in its own right, but not the same way.
Did you ever figure out if the lava pools could be seen on the moon?
I did. They can be. Yes. That
They
is
can.
posted up on Patreon. You, sir, are clearly not a member of our Patreon at the $5 a month or higher
I
level.
am a member of the Patreon. It has been one of those years.
I know. It
2025.
really has.
I'm been done with 2025 for a while now.
Yeah.
I know so many people who have managed to injure themselves, often breaking bits of themselves,
You included.
me included. Um, I think everybody at work who's been involved with my project, except my immediate employee, and there's one other person, and I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And there's another person on my Dragon Boat team, and we had our end of year thing, and he had his arm in a sling. It's like, oh, what has happened to you? Oh, I got a new shoulder.
I didn't know
Okay,
you could get those off the shelf.
you can get replacement. You can have your shoulder replaced.
All right. Thing I learned.
I'm not planning on doing that right away.
No, I knew about knees and hips. I didn't know you can do
No.
shoulders as well.
Oh, I know now. I know two people. So,
All right.
um,
All right.
yeah, don't slip on the ice. It hurts.
So we're going to do that takes math for an hour, or I'm
Yep.
just going to stare into the camera and talk at you with a chalkboard. Um, and then after that, we go into gameplay. Um, folks, if nothing else, I'd really like to see the totals get to at least being palindromes. We are at 4667 in Kindful. Let me reload just to make sure I'm not lying to you. We're at 4667 in Kindful. We are at exactly 1500 in Patreon. We are at 540 in the Twitch charity. And none of these are palindromes. And it's very upsetting to the OCD part of my brain. Very upsetting.
Do they add up to a palindrome?
540. No. No, they do not. Just saying.
Well, I mean, it's really important. What CosmoQuest does is important. What is going on in the States in terms of funding
Yeah.
is
Appalling.
I yeah, I don't have words. I'm not an American, I'm a Canadian. I still watch what's going on with this with the funding of science, and it's like,
Yeah.
and if that spreads, then like humanity is in for a big problem. But um anything that people can give can help further the science.
Yeah. And I saw a thing last night where folks were like, "But the European Space Agency increased their budget 30%." And it's like that still doesn't come anywhere near to the amount that NASA cut from their budget. NASA's just that much bigger.
Well, and ESA can't pick up all the slack of
No.
what, and even if ESA does pick up the slack, it still does nothing for the US space science
But
sector.
people are mobile, and I'm
Yeah.
okay if the jobs still exist and the generation of scientists right now who are losing their future are able to pick up and move to another country.
Yes.
I watched Soviet astronomers flee the collapse of the Soviet Union to the West. And I have friends that were part of that as college students. I'm okay with the brightest of our world moving around as long as they can keep advancing humanity.
Yes.
I'm okay with breaking down those borders. But unfortunately, no one right now is putting enough money out there
No.
for there not to be a lost generation. Because we were the nation everyone came to.
Yep.
So CosmoQuest is independently funded.
Yes.
I personally am working on a pair of tiny NASA grants. I have less than 100 hours billable left on those two grants. And I'm part of a National Science Foundation project, Ali and I both are, where we're going to be communicating comet science. These aren't funding core CosmoQuest things. That is independent, which allows us to keep all of our DEI content. And that is important to us. And we're going to keep doing what we know is the right thing to do. It's just really hard. It's really, really hard.
It is.
But for
But
now,
it's the good fight.
it's the good fight. And for now, I'm going to rotate things around. I'm going to stand in front of my chalkboard and I'm going to really hope that somebody comes up with some science questions I can answer, or I'm just going to be standing there feeling really stupid, or at least really bored. And you're going to be feeling really bored with me. So,
You sounds good. Sounds good. No,
that is my threat.
I'm trying to think of a question. I mean, if you I might still have my notes with the numbers you could work through how you did the balloon, but I will put a little caveat on that I have to dash out for about hour and a half.
That's a solved problem. We need something new. We need something new.
This is true.
All right. I will see all of you in a few minutes on the other side of the studio. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye all.